A year and a half we had a baby, and as you know, conventional wisdom have it that once you have a baby, your life is over and you're grounded and everything sucks and you're mired in many unpleasant things all day long. But our experience has not been so, and we have managed to spend our first full year with our child traveling quite a bit.
So we want to talk a little bit about how our travel style has changed, because that is definitely true.
Suzi's having a beer.
We're on a date. Yeah, we're not actually alone. Julian is totally over here. He's playing around with a spoon. No, tug of war.
He's gonna cry now.
I know. I'm sorry. Our considerations have, drastically changed based on traveling with a toddler. But we have still managed to travel, and that's the important part.
Yeah, so we're about to do a year recap of our travels with our 1-year-old and how we made it happen and how satisfied we are with it. The main handicap or thing that really prevents you from traveling a lot is the plane rides, because once the child hits 1, he wants to move the entire time. So a long plane ride becomes really difficult.
I would say it's not only the plane ride, but for me in particular, I'm thinking about sleep schedules. So the time zone change, like if you're ever going, just to another coast, it just makes a big difference in how they sleep, and thus the kinds of things you can do once you get to the destination. And so we immediately ruled out any kind of destination that was gonna make our time zone drastically different.
Yeah, so coast to coast travel we did not want to do, and not changing continents, we haven't done that yet. And we dealt with it by traveling north to south instead, and that prevents the time zone from changing. And we living on the west coast are actually pretty lucky that we have some pretty cool destinations.
And actually, we started traveling with Julian. How old was he? Like less than a month old?
3 weeks old.
3 weeks old. So that was our first trip. So, we were so determined after he was born to start traveling right away because we had, kind of felt cooped up. We wanted to get out. So we started traveling immediately, went to some nearby places. We did a bunch of videos about that. And in retrospect, now that he's a year and a half old, we're kind of realizing that when they're babies, they're much easier to travel with.
Yeah, that really is worth saying. And it is important to start when they're babies so that you condition them. We feel like Julian is so young, and yet he's already a good traveler because he doesn't complain on the road about disruptions or anything like that. He actually is super happy to go to new places. And now that continues on forever. So if you can, start traveling when they're tiny.
So we mentioned conditioning Julian, which is definitely part of the piece, but he's not going to remember any of this. And so it's actually more important to start traveling sooner to condition ourselves as parents, because it's the biggest burden for us. Being travelers, we used to travel so much, and so we had our travel routine down. We knew exactly how to pack and get to our destination super efficiently. And now it's, still efficient in its own way, but definitely took a lot of mindset change, I would say.
Well, this is the 500 pounds of baby food.
So as you can see, Julian has gotten a little bit particular about the kind of food that he likes to eat.
And by particular, she means salmon, wild caught, bison, yes, grass-fed. And routine, like you have to get good at all the extras. You have to also start thinking how your day revolves around the kid's schedule. He needs his naps, he needs his meals. Those are not optional like for us, I can go for 48 hours with no sleep. I can go with no food, not him. Just made it to the final waterfall and Julian fell asleep right then, so now he's sleeping. He must be comfortable.
All right, our first successful waterfall hike with Julian inside of the carrier. Seems to be a success so far, even though we're not done yet. And people say that, oh yeah, that's part of why your life gets ruined by having a kid and why you don't want to travel. But when you think about it, it goes by so quickly, these stages, like already within, from how we traveled with him as a 3-week-old to now a 1.5-year-old, it's just changed so fast, and it's going to keep changing. And so yes, it is a big disruptor of your routine and your schedule and the way that you like to travel, but it's such a short period of your life when you think about it.
Yeah, that's the thing, I do miss going to other continents. I do miss climbing big mountains and going to dangerous places or exciting places or partying until the night and stuff like that. That we cannot do. But we have been able to travel this entire year pretty well, actually. So one thing to mention, we love where we live in the summer. It's really one of the best summers of all, and the nature is just so amazing. Julian had such a great summer. Every day on the beach, it was just superb. However, the winters here can get kind of dark and chilly, and so we like to leave at least once or twice every winter. So for that reason, we were looking for warm places as soon as spring arrived last year, and our first trip was to Baja in Mexico.
So the trip to Baja was pretty cool because it was such a close destination in terms of the flight. We also did not have a time zone change, which is really important. And we also chose to stay in an all-inclusive resort, even though we did not do the all-inclusive part of it. But that was really important because, number one, it was really safe. They had security guards the whole time checking in for people coming in and out. And also they had a little kids area for him to play in.
Yeah, the resort was actually pretty perfect because it was also right on the marina, so you could step out and be immediately in the mix and have a lot of walking destinations, which was also very important anywhere we go. And so we were in Cabo San Lucas, right on the marina, the most central area of all of Baja when it comes to tourism. And to be honest, I thought that I wouldn't like it. I had heard about Cabo so much. I know so many people that have gone, and I thought because of that it's probably not that great. It's probably this kind of tourism we don't like, but we actually really did like it.
Yeah, so that's another thing is that, normally we would not have chosen Cabo, like a resort town, as a place for us to travel as a couple, but again, as a family, it was actually the perfect place to go. And we did do some of the touristy things, but overall, it was just a really great place to bring our baby at the time.
That's true. We all really enjoyed it, including Julian. He had his first dip in the sea there when he was, 9 months old or something like that. But altogether, the reasons we enjoyed Baja are the nature. The beaches are spectacular there, that's one thing. But also, it was very friendly. Everyone was so friendly. They loved their child.
Qué lindo estás. Hola.
Él tiene 10 meses.
Oh, ¿cómo se llama?
Julio.
Julio. Julio regalado. Qué mucho, ¿va? Qué mucho está.
And every little restaurant we went, we get so much attention and so many happy people just to see us there with their baby.
So overall, it was a really great way to get that international change without having to go to an entirely different continent. We're so lucky to have Mexico so close by to be able to do that.
That's right, and Baja is kind of the other end of the West Coast from where we live, and it allows us even in winter to get summer weather within 3-4 hours. So it's really well positioned for us.
So the trip after Baja was to Hawaii, which is the furthest we went in terms of the time zone change, because it was, I think it was 3 hours behind at the time. And so that was a bit of a concern, but actually Julian adapted to the time change pretty easily. And the main reason why we went was not only to get the warm weather, but this was in June actually. So at that point, it was mainly just to see our family.
Yeah, that's right. It was your brother's wedding. And seeing the grandparents, the nephews, that part was great. And Hawaii is never a bad place to go, honestly.
Right? Yeah.
Having a good reason to go to Hawaii is always a good thing.
You never need an excuse to go to Hawaii that way. So yeah, we did that trip in June. That was, I think I actually filmed the flight over, and it really wasn't that bad because, again, Julian couldn't walk yet.
This is Julian. He's 11 months old and about to go on his first long airplane ride. We'll be traveling from Seattle to Oahu, Hawaii, a 6-hour plane ride that should be a unique experience for all of us. Come along with us to see what it's like to travel on an airplane with a baby.
So after Hawaii, we chose to really stay here in our region because we actually have, Seattle's known for having really bad weather, but that's only true during certain seasons. Summertime is actually the best time to be here. And so knowing that, we chose to spend our entire summer here in Seattle and the Northwest, really just the Washington state area, and took him on some camping trips.
Yeah, that's how we dealt with normally that would be lack of travel for us all summer in one place, but we dealt with it by going around regionally, camping, teaching the boy about camping and about nature. We even took him hiking, where he hiked on his own for the first time in the end of summer.
Slept in a tent. He loved that. That was actually one of the best experiences because it was around the time when he started getting really into trees and nature and just noticing it all. And so just him waking up in the tent and being like, oh, trees. Seeing it through our tent was really, really cool.
Yeah, and he loved it and we loved it. And campgrounds in the area are so nice and safe that he was able to play around even before he could walk, and took some of his first steps ever from the campground right on the Pacific beach out here in Westport. And that was a very special memory. You know, it wasn't in some kind of mall or whatever. He actually walked for the first time on his own on the beach of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was amazing, yeah. So that too, you know, the summer had travel in it, and it had nature, and it was fantastic. So we did not feel at all robbed by having a child.
So because of that really long summer, it actually didn't really end until about November. And so we didn't really think about going anywhere until then. And so our next trip from there was during Thanksgiving, and we chose to cross another international border, but this time up north because Canada had just reopened its border.
This time we're heading to Victoria, BC for Julian's first ever visit to Canada.
That trip was fun because we took a bunch of ferries. It was a combination of driving and ferries, and Julian loved the ferry. That was like a blast for him.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm not sure if he realized he was on a boat, but he definitely enjoyed the scenery. He enjoyed running around the boat. But specifically, we were heading up to Victoria. It was another way to get that international flavor without having to go really far away.
Yeah, Victoria is really beautiful, and it's well done for a variety of reasons. Architecture is one of them, the other one is the nature, but it's also the fact that they do things in a different way or a little better way in many cases. Food was really, really good there too.
Yeah.
We had the best Greek food ever in Canada.
That is true, actually, yes. Good food, and yeah, just the architecture and ambience there is just different. It just makes you feel like you're in a different country, even though we're kind of still in the same region. We're not that far away from Seattle. So that was a really great trip. It was just a long weekend too. It wasn't even that
4
long,
days, 5 days.
but it was enough just to, you know, get our travel chops going and make us feel like we went somewhere. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so Victoria itself, it looks a lot like Britain, and still it's in our region, and it's in the same time zone, so it actually worked out really well. We even took Julian to Parliament, the British Columbia Parliament, and he played all over that building. So we found things to do. The weather was really good as well. We got lucky.
But, you know, that's actually something to say about, like, we did not do a whole lot of the traditional tourist activities in Victoria, and also for our next destination, which we'll talk about soon. But yeah, we've had to shift our style of travel in that sense because it is kind of revolving around his nap and his meals. So it's a little bit harder to do the bucket list items that people tell you to do in these, you know, destinations.
But primarily we took long walks, we went to get good food. It's almost like we live there. But the fact that we can go to a new place and walk and experience and enjoy, it's pretty meaningful to us.
And the other thing is, because we live so close to these places, and in a lot of cases we'd already been there before, we know that we're going to go back. So we don't feel like we're missing out by not ziplining and not doing all these things, because we know that as he grows older, we'll be able to do more of those age-appropriate activities as he gets older. So after that, Thanksgiving in Canada, we came home for a couple weeks, and then we chose to do Christmas further south in Santa Barbara, California.
Yeah, we're fresh off that trip, and our impressions have been very, very good. It was perfect weather, 70 degrees every day, which to a Northwesterner, that's the golden.
It's perfect for us. Yeah, it was
yeah. Every day we were on the beach, every day taking long walks, every day dining out. Julian was having a blast at the beach, digging in the sand. Mm-hmm. He went in the water, and we did too. Even though it's cold in the Pacific, we still did it on Christmas Day.
Yep, that was our Christmas present to ourselves. And, you know, same thing like Canada, we did not do all of the bucket list items in Santa Barbara, but that wasn't the point. The point was just to get away, because that's how we deal with living here in the Northwest during these wet and rainy times of the year. Even though, ironically, it's not raining today. It's actually pretty, this is a good day for Seattle.
It's nice.
But this is how we deal with the cold, you know, is by trying to find these warm destinations during those periods where it gets really unbearable to live here. Get away for, you know, a week and a half, come back recharged, and feel like we can, you know, get through the winter.
And Santa Barbara was perfect for that. It's on what's called the Central Coast, and from there, there's a drive to a place called San Luis Obispo in Morro Bay. And having done that, we have now seen the entire west coast of the USA, and actually some of the Canadian and some of the Mexican. So we feel like this is our habitat, this is our stomping ground. On the west coast, we can have it all. We can have the alpine mountains, the rainforest, the sea, the ocean, the lakes, the deserts, and also spectacular beaches the entire length of the coast, which is thousands of miles long. And this is our locale. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in fact, you know, we've done a lot of that since having Julian. So
Yeah.
in the year and a half, like last year we drove from Seattle down to Monterey, California. This year we went all the way down to Cabo and all the way up to Victoria. So
And to Hawaii.
Yeah, and to Hawaii. So we're really taking advantage of our location here on the West Coast, which we're really treasuring that we live on the West Coast and that we have so many travel destinations that we can repeatedly visit.
All right, so this is our recap, and hopefully this can be inspiring to you, even though you may not live in this region, to do the exact same thing we did. But there are many regions that allow such hopping, where you can experience new things and switch it up and don't feel stuck in a rut at home with a small child, unable to do anything. Actually, you can, and we proved it this year. We did really good travel. When I looked at the pictures and the recap, I was like, wow, that wasn't that bad at all.
Right? At times you're sitting there like, we didn't do anything this year. We're not traveling. We're losers. But then we look at our photos and we look at our Google Maps and we're like, actually, we've done a lot.
I mean, just
gotta give
think
ourselves
of
more credit for all that.
just think of all the beaches we have seen.
Yeah.
They're probably in the hundreds, or at least over 100.
Yeah.
Like we have seen so many beaches, and some of them are among the best in the world. But it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. It's just we have managed to adapt and managed to prove that the lifestyle we cherish has not been ruined by having a child. In fact, it's been much enriched because we can just let him loose, and we really enjoy watching him play.
Yeah, we're sharing now our love for travel with him, and obviously he won't remember a whole lot of this, but we are filming it, taking photos, so hopefully that'll help jog his memory. But yeah, at the very least, it's a good foundation for him to become the world traveler that we hope that he'll become.
So we'll travel more and more this year, 2023. Stay tuned for more travels with the cutest baby in the world.